So for some unknown reason, you voted for Joe Biden. Well, here are the top 15 reasons that Biden is the best at being the worst president ever. The only thing he's good at is being bad at his job.
Before we get to this video, make sure you hit like, share my videos, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Also, make sure that your notifications are on and they're set to all. Now, let's get into this. But first, quick commercial break. 2022 has shown us what might be coming. So if you're fed up with everything being so expensive and the threat of inflation hanging over us, it's time to take action. A precious metal IRA uses tax advantage gold and silver to keep inflation at bay and give you protection from financial nightmares. And you'll get a stunning free 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin when you open a qualified IRA account this month. You know what I always say, you can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call 877-646-5347 to find out more or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. And remember, there's always a risk of loss and past performance is not indicative of future results.
I am very willing to let the American public judge my physical and mental my physical as well as my mental fitness.
Well, you heard it from the horse's mouth. Now let's take that to task. Here are the top 15 reasons that Biden is the best at being the worst POTUS ever. Number 1, best at being the worst POTUS to ever finish a statement.
The idea that like to be able to anyway. Rapidly rising I don't know. By the way, in prison, the determination should be that your sexual identity is defined by what you say it is, not what in fact the prison says it is. And in that case, you should be entitled also to OGBYN. Anyway, you didn't ask that question. Well, look. Critical laws like the PRO Act to strengthen collective bargaining. On politics like prevailing and look. Yes, I'm taking too much time, but you know, all men and women created by go. You know the thing. I tell you what, I'm so darn proud. And those poor people who have lost. Anyway, Lonnie knows I believe this every fiber of my being. We're posed. What I propose is. Can be done. So the best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to. Anyway, we're going to get a lot done.
Now, do you think he cares about you feeling unsatisfied or incomplete? Not at all. That's why he's the worst. Now, number 2, the best at being the worst POTUS to understand mathematics.
I would see for immediately moving toward, we're in fact in a position now that if in fact we dealt with mitigation across the board, just what we did in the last administration and before, leading to a standard that we provide efficiency for appliances. That saves billions of gallons of gasoline. I mean, billions of $2.3 billion worth of, $500 billion in savings and 2-point-something billion metric tons of CO2 going in the air. You get a tax break for the racehorse. Why in God's name couldn't we provide an $8,000 tax credit for everybody who has child care costs? It would put 720 million women back in the workforce. For example, the Paycheck Protection Act. 1% of the money's gone out. 1%. 1% of the that's not the paycheck. The bill for small businesses. Lending. Mainstream lending. 1%'s gone out. Because by the way, only 1% of you. Only. One 1% of you are defending 99% of us. And because, by the way, only 1% of you, only 1% of you Eliminate one tax loophole out of $1.6 trillion worth, $1.4 trillion worth, out of $1.4 billion.
That's what I thought.
$740 billion over 10 years.
He didn't even take the time to stop and think about those numbers that he was rattling off. Man, he is truly living up to being the best at being the worst POTUS ever. Number 3, the best at being the worst POTUS that's sick and tired.
Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced.
I'm tired of being quiet.
Where I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired.
Did you hear that? He is just sick and tired. That's right. Number 4, the best at being the worst POTUS to pander.
We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. No, I really mean it, but think how we think about it. I look forward to introducing, I would have already done it had we had not had the death, George had not been held up against that curb. I know you're a little younger than I am, but I've adopted the attitude of the great Negro at the time, pitcher in the Negro Leagues, went on to become a great pitcher in the pros, into the Major League Baseball after Jackie Robinson. His name was Satchel Paige. You elected the highest ranking black Indian with Indian background woman in American history to be vice president.
The long way until November, we got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
A lot of people don't know how to register. Not everybody in the community, the Hispanic and the African American community, particularly in rural areas that are distant and or inner city districts, know how to get online to determine how to get in line for that COVID vaccine.
Now that's some top-notch pandering. That man right there is a pandologist. Number 5, the worst POTUS at handling COVID-19.
It's a case where we cannot let this, we've never allowed any crisis from the Civil War straight through to the pandemic of 17, all the way around 16. We have never let our democracy take second fiddle. We can both have a democracy and elections and at the same time correct the public health.
You're killing me, Small.
Did you see that handiwork? That man had nothing but jumbled up mumble in his head. And yes, he is killing us, Smalls. Let's continue.
But these things are called, there's a virus. And a virus is what we're dealing with now. It's a particularly lousy kind of virus. It's like flu on steroids. It's a really bad kind of flu.
Did you hear that excellent explanation of what COVID-19 is? It's a virus. Yes, just like the flu. That for some reason forced us to shut down our economy and lose our jobs. But he's the best at being the worst POTUS to handle the pandemic. Let's continue.
If Donald Trump has his way, the complications from COVID-19, which are well beyond what they should be, it's estimated that 200 million people have died, probably by the time I finish this talk. North Carolina announced its $100 incentive today. Places that have offered the $100. That'd be really good. I'd go back and get vaccinated 3 times. She's also dedicated to getting her customers and employees vaccinated, that when they leave the saloon, the receptionist, the salon.
Now, if you're still not convinced that President Biden is the best at being the worst president to ever handle COVID, I've slid in a little bonus because he's also the best at being the worst president to ever wear a COVID-19 mask.
Thank you. Hello, Las Vegas. Senator Rose, Representative Titus, and my good friend, Brian, your students could be here, doing all you've done in this challenging time. Look, come on, you're just trying to do right. You got to swear at his dad. Yesterday I was with Kamala Harris in Arizona after her outstanding debate performance. Remember Cindy McCain, John McCain's wife, just won a fair shot. He lost his job up in Scranton when I was in grade school. My dad would say, we had to move in with my grandparents. He worked hard, who understands what we're going through. That's President Trump. How can we trust him to protect this country? We lose anywhere from 700 to 1,000 people, seniors over 60 years of age, and they still haven't come back. And the vast majority were women. V-shaped recession. We're still down. Just in the pandemic, your members of Congress first. Your members of Congress did nothing to move the legislation. If this wasn't so serious, you think I'm making it up? Not a joke. What they focused on is more tax cuts for the wealthy. By 2023, take away federal protections, take away Medicare benefits for seniors, increase their drug protection, their drug prescription costs. Call a high-level meeting with Democrats hiding in the bunker in the White House, or on the bunker to the golf course. Child school was shut down. $800 billion. I'm not making this up. We can turn this crisis into progress. Folks, we're so much better than this. We make up 4% if you just follow the science. Biden's going to spend all this money. $1 trillion more in $400,000. I'm going to ask the big corporations and the wealthy to start paying their fair share. Penny in taxes. It's wrong. Donald Trump. Come on. The kinds of investment that will stimulate the economy. We, the president of the White House, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. What's going on here? I mean it. It's going to go to no outfit that build a climate-resistant heat waves, droughts, hurricanes, and floods. By the way, what we said, Alejandro? A $15 million, or $15,000, $15 minimum wage. I'm dreaming here. 50%. The reason I'm not going into more detail is preschool, not daycare. Spend more than 7% of their income, child care workers. More often women. We're going to make 4 years. We're going to protect Social Security, increase benefits for millions of seniors. Look, I'm not going to lay it out, but go. I know the middle-class working people. It's going to be okay. Those tires are bald. I'm going to work as hard. I made a speech I worked really, really hard on and thought really hard about before I made it. In Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, the battlefield last week. We cannot be here and now in 2020. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. We have it in our hands. Let's stand up and vote and take back this country now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
The Delta variant wave of COVID-19 will be very different to be able to deal with than the one that was underway when I took office. You know, we have roughly 350 million people vaccinated in the United States. I said, well over, what's the number again? I remind myself, 350 million Americans have already been vaccinated.
We should be making it easier, not harder, to make sure to make sense to, I'll put it another way. It makes no sense.
Are you at all concerned, as Trump said, that we cannot let the cure be worse than the problem itself?
We have to take care of the cure. That will make the problem worse no matter what.
What?
U.S. COVID infected military, U.S. COVID infected in America, 344,700. U.S. COVID deaths, 189,506. Do you really feel safer under Donald Trump? COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives, when you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
And in order to avoid those very high numbers, we have to do at least several things. One, we have to depend on what the president's going to do right now. And first of all, he has to wait till the cases before anything happens. Look, the whole idea is he's got to get in place things that were shortages of.
Yes, you heard that correctly. Joe Biden's miraculous challenge to Trump is that he must get things into place where there are shortages of. It's really novel stuff there, Joe.
Watch your tone, Indian man. Don't be talking bad about the best at being the worst POTUS ever. Getting things in place that there's shortages of is extremely important when you're the best at being the worst POTUS to handle the pandemic. Number 6. Best at being the worst POTUS to remember anyone's name.
Donald Trump, President Trump, Donald Trump. What kind of country we're going to be? 4 more years of Georgia, he's going to find ourselves in a position where if Trump gets elected, we're going to be in a different world. And tonight and in the coming days, we should focus on the loss of the justice. In the House, I thank Speaker Pelosi. That's why I moved so quickly to pass the American Rescue Plan with the help of my friends here in the Congress. I really mean that. It didn't pass by a whole lot, but with the leadership of Connor and Bobby and Mayor, you got it done. I want to thank all of you here for including bipartisan elected officials like Representative Governor, Senator Braun, Senator Booker, Representative Jackie. Are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here. Lizzie Pinelli, Pinell,
And what am I doing here? I'm going to lose track here. And Mayor Turner, thank you, Boris. And I want to thank that fellow down under.
That's right, you heard it correctly. He wants to thank that fella down under. Number 7, the best at being the worst, creepiest POTUS ever.
I'm sorry to take so long, guys, but everybody knows I like kids better than people. I like kids better than people. Everybody knows I like kids better than people.
Did you hear that? He likes kids better than people because kids aren't considered to be people. Wow, he's really creepy. That's right, the creepiest.
Look at them. Now, very important thing I told my daughter and granddaughters, no serious guys till you're 30.
Okay.
Right?
No what?
No serious guys till you're 30.
I'll keep that in mind.
To me, to have you swear me in today, and I thank you. Trust and confidence. I've got a lot of thanks to give out here. First and foremost to my perfect wife, Stephanie, my wonderful son, Will, and my daughter, Ava, already mentioned.
Guess what? We got a lot to do. You gotta say hi to me. We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway. This woman helped me get an awful lot done. Anyway.
By the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
And no one even blinked at the fact that he said he loves kids jumping on his lap. Wow. And you voted for this guy. You might be the best at being the worst voter ever if you voted for creepy, sleepy, sleazy, slimy, sloppy Joe. Number 8, the best at being the worst whisperer ever.
I got them $1.9 trillion relief so far. They're going to be getting checks in the mail that are consequential this week for childcare. I wrote the bill on the environment. I said, yeah, pay them more. This is an employees bargaining chip now. What's happening?
And he didn't even stop to realize that he's whispering into a microphone, allowing everyone to hear him. That's why he's the best at being the worst whisperer ever. Number 9, the best at being the worst stumbling POTUS ever.
No matter what their cost, 2, 10, 12, 15, oops, stepping on it's black, anyway.
Now that's some prime time stumbling. Number 10, the best at being the worst POTUS, not knowing where he is or should be.
Welcome to Kingswood Community Center. Actually, that's the one down I used to work. It's a joke. You know where we were. Anyway.
Mr. President, thank you. At the end of such a momentous event, The word thank you seems kind of inadequate.
Go down on this. Go down here and listen. Just go down.
Where would he be without Joe Biden's husband, Dr. Jill Biden? Number 11, the best at being the worst POTUS trying to make sense at any point or any time.
I'm not going to go sign the Chips and Science Act. The United States must lead the world in the production of these advanced chips. This law will do exactly that. This law funds the entire semiconductor supply chain. But the future of the chip industry is going to be made in America.
I'm prepared to say that I have a record of over 40 years. Yeah. And that I'm going to beat Joe Biden.
You know, in America, where the early interest was in internet, this thing called the internet that we invested, we invented the early internet. The only way to spare more pain and more loss, the only way, these millstones no longer mark our national mourning. These milestones, I should say, no longer mark our national mourning. You know, the needs of innocent very to live, and not having the money to pay for it. Not a joke. Think about it. Think about what you'd think about. You're going to make that all cement. You're going to use that as basis to build on, because you need security, you need stability for what you have on top, and you're going to build up stories beyond. I mean, this is incredible. This is the United States of America, for God's sake. Thank you for tolerance, for listening to me. From Charlotte, the range of challenges Europe and the United States must take on together is broad and complex. And I'm eager to hear next. Nigger to hear next from my good friends. The way China will respond is when we gather the rest of the world that in fact believes in free in open trade, and making sure that we're in a position that the world that we deal with WHO the right way. That in fact that's when things begin to change. That's when China's behavior is going to change. You're trying your best, but it never feels like enough.
You heard it correctly. You're trying your breast? Well, it never feels like enough. I mean, who can get enough trying breast? Number 12. He's the only POTUS that has his own language. Joe Biden.
Of Putin's kleptocracy. Kleptocracy. The guys who are the kleptocracies. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. Donald Trump thinks healthcare is a privilege. Barack and I think it's a right for people that bad at healthcare. I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure.
What? See? Now it is mumbo jumbo like that. And skinny little lizards like you that gives Kung Fu a bad name.
What the heck was he talking about? I don't know. But one day we'll all have to learn Joe Biden to understand him. Yeah, you heard it correctly. True and international depression to isolate and punish China. Number 13. The best at being the worst POTUS sleeping on the job.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the nation's Constitution Center. I have the great privilege of being the guest leader of this outfit for a year. It's an appropriate place to make the speech.
that's not what happened. And so by the time I took office, we once again acknowledged the promise we've made to care for our seniors. It says that 10 years from now, if you're a 65-year-old who's eligible for Medicare, you should have to pay nearly $6,400 more than you would today.
I'm ready on day one after more than 3 years in office. Why isn't Donald Trump ready? Mr. President, wake up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I nodded off for a moment because of Sleepy Joe Biden. If you're looking for some nighttime remedies to fall asleep, just simply turn on a clip of Joe Biden. You'll be catching Z's in a second. Now, let's get down to our final 2 reasons why Joe Biden is the best at being the worst POTUS ever. Number 14, he is the best at being the worst POTUS ever to eat chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip.
Oh, did you hear those people ooh and ah? All because he likes chocolate chip. Now, finally, number 15, Joe Biden is the best at being the worst dumpster juice POTUS America has ever seen and ever will see.
I don't want to hear any more of these lies about reckless spending. We're changing people's lives.
This video was inspired by the YouTube channel entitled Space Ice. Check it out. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the top 15 reasons why creepy, sleepy, sleazy, slimy, sloppy Joe is without a shadow of a doubt the best at being the worst president ever.
God bless you. God bless America. Don't forget to hit that like button, share my videos, find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those good things. And please check out Extreme Teas, my sponsor. If you like their products, please click on the link below this video. Put Kevin in a promo code. You'll get a 20% discount. If you'd like to donate to Kevin's Corner, feel free. The links are below this video. If you want to be a part of my $2 a month club, also feel free to do that. All it entails is you simply dropping $2 a month into one of those links below the video. Or if you want, you can drop a nice big fat lump sum in there to offset the stuff that we know goes on with big tech. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. Make sure that you are still subscribed. And finally, set your notification button to all, because YouTube is playing games, y'all. Now, God bless you. God bless America. See y'all next time in Kevin's Corner.